Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all well. Are we all well? Yes? Okay. I've got a bit of man flu, so yeah. I know. A bit of a cold, really. But I'm hoping my voice will last throughout this. But I'll do my best. Go a little bit faster as well. So enjoy the meal this evening. I would now like to introduce some of the senior management and operational team members on board, with the hotel general manager, the chief engineer, housekeeping manager, and F&B manager. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say that grand cruising is all about meeting new people, dining with new people, and sleeping with a clear conscience. So that's about all for me tonight. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening on board. Thank you.
Madeira. When you travel around Madeira, it quickly becomes clear why it's known as the Garden Island. It is simply awash with colour from a breathtaking display of subtropical plants and flowers. So it's hardly surprising that large and colourful flower markets are one of the most arresting features of Funchal, Madeira's capital. The size of a market town, Funchal is easily walkable, although the further inland you explore, the steeper and narrower some of the streets become. Locally made wicker furniture, lacework and tapestries all make good buys, along with the ubiquitous Madeira wine. Funchal is also the base for tours to the island's botanical gardens, the fishing village of Camara de Lobos, where Churchill went to paint, Camacha, the wicker centre, the Levada Walks, part of an ancient irrigation system, and to Reed's Hotel for traditional afternoon tea.
adultos e filhos com o mesmo amor. Tchau, cantar, bem trazem vocês aroma daquele rio. Café, terra querida, tudo tem na coração. Tchau, cantar, vento trazer você. Aroma daquele rio. Café, terra querida, tudo tem na coração. Caverna da mantenha, se abençoamos beijo dá, jeito saudade. A todos os filhos na terra longe, é sempre pra você. Você gosta em que calor, a todos os filhos com o mesmo amor. Da montanha, se abençoando beijo saudade. A todos os filhos na terra longe, este tempo pra você. Você gosta em que calor, a todos os filhos com o mesmo amor. Você gosta em que calor, a todos os filhos com o mesmo amor. Você gosta em que calor, a todos os filhos com o mesmo amor. Você gosta em que calor, a todos os filhos com o mesmo amor. Você gosta em que calor, a todos os filhos com o mesmo amor. Thank you, merci.
Yes, Brazil. The 7-mile-long Brazilian peninsula of Búzios is South America's Saint-Tropez, with sophisticated boutiques, fine restaurants, and more than 20 magnificent beaches. It became a favourite haunt of the likes of Brigitte Bardot back in the 1960s. Today, its all-season sunshine and hedonistic atmosphere continue to appeal. The resort is centred around Rua das Pedras, or Stone Street, a charming paved esplanade filled with bars, eateries and shops. Watch the world go by as you sit in one of the side street cafes and enjoy the music and laughter that fills the air. Between here and Ossos Beach is the Orla Bardot, where you'll find the infamous statue of the French starlet poised on her suitcase, looking out to sea. From the white sands and azure waters of Azeda to the wonderful open bay and water sports of Guariba, sun worshippers here will be spoilt for choice. For those seeking a little more culture, the numerous art galleries and historical St. Anna Church are well worth a visit. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Famous for its colourful carnival and its fabulous beaches, as well as the dramatic entry to its cruise port, Rio de Janeiro, in the southeastern corner of Brazil, has much more to offer than sun and sand. You can enjoy breathtaking views from the top of Sugarloaf Mountain. The cable car journey up is even more spectacular. Or take a taxi up Corcovado Mountain in the Parque Nacional de Tijuca to view the city's most famous landmark, the 30-metre-high statue of Christ the Redeemer. Make time too to visit Praça Floriano, the vast square at the heart of the city, which is home to its exquisite Teatro Municipal Opera House and close to the city's best art gallery, Museo Nacional de Belas Artes. Floriano Square is also the place to catch Rio's social life at its best. Grab a beer at a pavement cafe and tap your feet to the rhythms of the samba before exploring the shops along the 19th century Rua de Carioca. Montevideo, Uruguay. There's a real buzz about the Uruguayan capital on the river plate just across from Buenos Aires. Within a few yards of the Montevideo cruise port, there's a bustling market, Puerto del Mercado, where you can buy local artists' paintings and all kinds of eclectic bric-a-brac. Shopping is made even more fun by street entertainers and musicians busking in between the stalls. The city centre around Plaza Independencia and the old town that leads off it are rich in historic buildings and monuments, interspersed with attractive gardens and more grand squares. One of the biggest and best surprises is that although the city is a major commercial centre, it also boasts some of the country's best beaches. Port Stanley, Falkland Islands. The Falkland Islands are a nature lover's delight and the perfect place to pick up a photo of a penguin. But the capital and cruise port, Stanley, is a busy fishing port with a thriving downtown area, catering for the increasing number of visitors. The traditional British-style pubs have recently been joined by trendy bars, cafes and restaurants, and there's an excellent museum just along the front from the dock. The museum covers all the island's history, but obviously majors on the 1982 Argentinian invasion and subsequent liberation by the British forces, with letters and other artefacts from both sides of the conflict. There are also several war memorials in Stanley and Government House that will be of particular interest to British visitors. Punta Arenas, Chile. The gold rush first made the name of this small Chilean cruise port in the Magellan Straits bordering Chile's Patagonia region, as it was a key stop en route to and from California. It was wool, though, that made its fortune thanks to 200 purebred sheep imported from the Falklands in the 19th century, which eventually became 2 million. Set against the rugged, mountainous landscape of Patagonia, it's now a busy, compact town with several good museums, one open air, recording its early history and the wool boom years. Beagle Channel, Chile, a sheltered waterway from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean which cuts through Tierra del Fuego, one of the most remote places on Earth and one which includes the border between Argentina and Chile. Your ship will probably call at Ushuaia in the Argentinian sector en route from Cape Horn to the Chilean fjords or vice versa. Coquimbo, Chile. Coquimbo is a busy port in Chile's Coquimbo region, boasting one of the best harbours on the coast and beholding some of the country's most interesting historical structures. It's also the main gateway to the attractive city of La Serena, capital of the Norte Chico. Strolling around the centre, you can admire elaborately crafted wooden architecture built by its early British and American settlers. The attractive esplanade of Plaza Prat offers great views of the waterfront and is framed by a number of old buildings, including Pablo Garriga House, which belonged to the original owner of the port. Other points of interest include the Plaza de Armas, San Pedro Church, and the Museo de Sicho, which houses artifacts from a pre-Columbian graveyard. Outside the town, the area offers some fine beaches, including Totoralillo, Morillos, and Guayacan Bay. Aerica, Chile. Aerica nestles between the ocean and desert at the northernmost tip of Chile. Known as the City of Eternal Spring due to its pleasant climate, it's also enjoyed for its palm-fringed beaches, history, culture, and archaeological points of interest. In the city stands the Morro de Aerica, a tall, steep hill that is home to the famous fort of El Mor, dating back to the War of the Pacific when Chile won the war against Peru and Bolivia. Climb to the top for some spectacular panoramic views before paying a visit to the impressive Gothic-style San Marcos Cathedral. Nearby, you can marvel at the ancient geoglyphs marking the walls of the Azapa Valley and see the oldest mummies in the world at the San Miguel de Azapa Archaeological Museum. from Callao, Peru. Callao is your landing point for the capital of Peru, Lima, the City of Kings. This lively cosmopolitan city is a myriad of ruin and regeneration, lavish in ancient and noble tradition and boasting numerous museums and mansions, as well as a magnetic cultural scene. Stroll along the streets and alleyways of its historic centre, following its archaeological trail, and admire beautiful Baroque churches, ornate balconies, and classic colonial-style buildings. Sights to see include the bronze fountain in the Plaza de Armas, the Presidential Palace, and the mosaics in Pizarro's Cathedral. The city's distinct neighbourhoods each offer something a little different, from the bustling market area to the bars and bohemia of wealthy Barranca. Cartagena, Colombia. For superb views of this fascinating Colombian city and the magnificent Spanish-built San Felipe de Barajas fortress, which has defended it since the 16th century, head first for La Popa, the 17th century hilltop monastery, which is open to visitors despite monks still living there. All of Cartagena is a World Heritage Site, but the jewel in its crown is undoubtedly the ancient walled city within. This took nearly 200 years to complete, and you'll love exploring its narrow streets and pretty squares, its ramparts, and especially its dungeons, which would be spooky but for the slightly bizarre presence of a lively flea market. The new city, Boca Grande, has plenty of shops and malls where you can buy some of the emeralds for which Colombia is famous. There's also a gold museum if you prefer just to window shop, and there are some excellent beaches for swimming, sunbathing, snorkeling or scuba diving. Aruba, Dutch Antilles. Talcum soft beaches, world-class shopping, glitzy casinos, stunning sea views, and tracts of desert landscape scattered with giant boulders and exotic cacti are all yours to enjoy when you visit popular Aruba, jewel of the deep Caribbean. And you'll find most of these attractions without straying far from the capital and cruise port, Oranjestad, a waterfront city endowed with a cosmopolitan population of Portuguese, Spanish, Venezuelan, Indian, Pakistani and African, as well as Dutch origin. This cultural mix makes Oranjestad heaven for adventurous foodies and a great place to shop the world, as you can pick up Delft china, Dutch cheese, Danish silverware and Madeiran embroidery at low prices. For local colour, visit Schooner Harbour, which is crammed with brightly painted boats and craft stalls, and Willemstad, famed for its 16th century Dutch houses. And water babies will love Eagle Beach, Palm Beach and Baby Beach, all a short distance from the port. Bonaire, Dutch Antilles. The least developed of the Caribbean ABC islands, Aruba and Curacao are the others. Bonaire has many good reasons to protect its own extraordinary environment. Bonaire's marine park, which covers the coral reefs along the island's west coast, has a vast number and variety of fish, and snorkeling and diving amongst these colourful residents is a sheer delight. A more conventional national park spreads across the whole northern part of the island. Originally plantations, this freshwater swampland is now home to pelican, parrots and geese. Pick of the island's beaches is called Pink Beach because of the attractive colour the coral has turned the sand. Tobago Caribbean Islands. Tobago is one of the real Robinson Crusoe Islands. There's not much of it, just 26 miles by 9, but around every corner, and it seems like at every turn, you find your jaw dropping open at the sheer beauty of another scene. Sometimes it's a waterfall falling from a volcanic hill, and then it will be a long white sandy beach with the translucent waters reflecting a coral reef below. Even the names are evocative. Pigeon Point, acknowledged as one of the most beautiful beaches in the Caribbean, Man o' War Bay and Bloody Bay. The capital and cruise port, Scarborough, is laid back even by Caribbean standards and a great place for a quiet drink and to watch the world stroll by. And although there's plenty to see inland, from rainforests to bird sanctuaries, most visitors just put on their swim gear and head for the beach. And who can blame them? Barbados. Watching the Atlantic surf crash down on the rugged east coast of this richly diverse island, and for a moment you may feel you could be on the Cornish coast. But the moment you hear the waves of gospel singing emanating from a tiny local church, you realise you couldn't be anywhere else but Barbados. While over on the sheltered west coast, the glorious beaches are pure Caribbean. And there are more beaches and a lot more bars, cafes, restaurants and clubs, creating a vibrant 24/7 lifestyle on the south coast too. In the capital and cruise port, Bridgetown, there are intriguing signs of its British colonial past, while across the island, you are really spoilt for choice. You can enjoy every water sport under the sun, stunning nature walks and bike rides, or maybe a trip to the uniquely magnificent Harrison's Cave underground complex of caverns, waterfalls, stalactites and stalagmites. St Lucia, Windward Islands. St Lucia has a fascinating, if bloody, history, with the French and British spending years fighting over it. One look at this luscious island will show you why. Cloaked in verdant rainforests, its skyline dominated by the dramatic twin peaks of Le Piton and its gardens a riot of hibiscus and bougainvillea, St Lucia is the epitome of a Caribbean paradise. Here you can watch parrots and hummingbirds skim through the trees, bask on beautiful beaches, visit charming fishing villages, view stunning volcanic scenery, and glory in the Caribbean's best botanical gardens. If it's your first visit, an island tour to the dramatic Soufriere volcano will show you the island's full beauty. Boat trips to spot dolphin and whales are also available, as are biking, jeep and hiking tours of the rainforest. But do leave time to explore the shops of Castries, where you can pick up bread, wine and even ketchup made from bananas. Martinique, one of the Lesser Antilles, is a chic, beautiful and beguiling island that offers a taste of France deep in the heart of the Caribbean. It also possesses an endearing West Indian warmth in its personality and a special Caribbean spice in its music, dance and cuisine. Martinique's capital, Fort-de-France, is a neat and colourful town that boasts a scaled-down replica of Paris's Sacré-Cœur, as well as a memorial to the island's most famous local daughter, Napoleon's not-tonight Empress, Josephine. Catch a ferry from the seafront and cruise across the magnificent bay to a clutch of superb beaches, or visit Mont Pelée to see the site of the worst ever volcanic eruption in the Caribbean. Then cool off with local rum punch. Antigua, Caribbean Islands. With over 365 beaches, there is a slice of white sand heaven for every day of the year, even a leap year, on the idyllic Caribbean holiday island, Antigua, which played host to Admiral Horatio Nelson's fleet in the late 1700s. Nelson's dockyard now bustles with crew and passengers from yachts and cruise ships sailing these waters for pleasure rather than for king and country. The main port, St. John's, is also the capital and a vibrant hub for shopping, as well as being within easy range of some of the best beaches at Fort James, Deep Bay, Galley Bay and Hawksbill. Almost perfect weather conditions and low humidity due to the warm prevailing trade winds allows Antigua to boast of being the sunniest of the eastern Caribbean islands, with the lowest annual rainfall. It is also the largest of the English-speaking Leeward Islands, although it is only 14 miles long and 11 miles wide. Still, with a population of less than 70,000, this means there are lots of wide open spaces, especially on those gorgeous beaches.